Hello, I'm musician first class Briana Tarby, and I'm the co-principal oboist with the U.S. Coast Guard Band. Today I'll be talking about warm-ups that I do and that I recommend for oboists, and this might also apply to some other woodwind instruments. So the three goals that I have when I'm warming up are to work on my embouchure, my tongue, which also includes everything else that's going on inside the mouth, because it's not like we're a string instrument. Half of what's happening when we produce a sound is going on inside the mouth. And then, of course, my fingers. So all of these are muscles that need regular exercise. And so when I'm doing warm-ups, I want to support my control, my technique, and my musicality. So I'll repeat that. I always want to be musical. So first, I choose a key that I want to work in. As a professional, I usually do a key of the day, but I do recommend to students that you do a key of the week. But of course, any of these warm-ups can be altered if you have something else going on. Like if you're doing an audition that requires scales, then you might need to get through more of them. So today, I have chosen the key of D. I usually do both D major and D minor, but I'm going to demonstrate on D major because I know not everyone has done minor keys, and that's totally okay. Do what you know. So I'll be starting a D major scale slurred in eighth notes at a quarter note equals 60. So this might seem slow, but it is a warm-up, and I only get faster when it's really clean. So I'll set my metronome, which I have here, and I'll play that for you. So now I will move to 16th notes. So if this is clean, then you might feel comfortable continuing on past that to, say, quarter note equals 90 and 120. That's what I do. During my scales, I'm listening for the evenness and the line. I always want to keep growing and then come back down, and always feeling that I have a correct embouchure, because if it's the first thing I'm doing for the day, I don't want to start off on the wrong foot. Now, I usually move on to articulation exercises using my scales. So besides fully slurred scales and fully tongue scales, there's also 5 other mixed articulation varieties that are possible with this rhythm. I usually go through all of them, but I'll demonstrate one, which is slur 2, tongue 2, and I'll use the same metronome marking to demonstrate. So now that I have played a little bit, I will do some long tones. Long tones are really hard to do, and they require a lot of control for something that seems so simple. I will admit that when I was younger, I hated doing long tones because they seemed too simple or boring, but at the same time, I was also avoiding them because I knew how difficult they were. So in long tones, I'm listening for a clean entrance that I use the tongue for, a gradual crescendo and decrescendo, a stable pitch, because when you're crescendoing and decrescendoing, it's very common for the pitch to change, and then at the end, a clean release. So to help notate our crescendo and decrescendo, I like to use numbers. So for example, 1 to 5 to 1. So each number would be a quarter note, and so this would be 1 to 5 to 1. or you can do 1 to 8 to 1. So we'll also be doing this at quarter note equals 60. So if you have never done long tones before, I recommend that you start with 1 to 5 to 1. And so I'll sing it very quickly just so you understand the arc of what I'm doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now I will turn on the metronome and I'll play it. And so I'm going to be using vibrato, but you don't have to do that. Let's try that again because my reed got dry. So if you choose to go on to 1 to 8 to 1, so that means that we're going to be making it much longer, I want you to recognize that your dynamics will have to be that much more gradual. So you can also trade off between using a metronome and a drone, which sounds like this. So what you'd be trying to do is to match the drone, which really helps your pitch immensely. You could also do this with scales if you want. Okay, so I just showed you 3 warm-up elements that I find fundamental to oboe playing. So here's a few things I want you to listen for while you do warm-ups. Okay, so this is not a video on oboe reeds, but I will mention oboe reeds because they are such a big deal. So if you are playing on a reed that is less than ideal, it will be really obvious during your warm-ups, and that's often why it's so important to do them. Your pitch and response just won't be great. And if your reed feels pretty good, then you'll know that you can work on your own physical skills. So if the reed doesn't feel great, then you'll know that you don't have to blame yourself for everything. So be gentle with yourself if it's not going well today. And so the second thing is that I try to make sure that I play with as little tension as possible. So tension in the hands, like if you're grabbing the keys, or the shoulders, like if you're hunched over and you start putting more muscle. Your tongue, if it's working too hard, then it will create problems, and if your lips are grabbing onto the reed. So all of those are examples of tension. And I'll repeat again, always play warm-ups with musicality. So you are practicing music every time you play. So playing scales beautifully will make playing that solo in band or orchestra that much easier to be beautiful too. So happy practicing, everyone, and I hope you enjoy some of your warm-ups.